Welcome to Call the Wild Tutorials, and today we're talking shot placement. So for a lot of you who have taken up the game and maybe you don't hunt IRL, this is something that might be useful for you. Maybe you've been finding that you've been wounding a lot of animals and not taking them down. So we're going to talk a little bit today about shot placement. Now I'm on PC today, and just so I can have the mouse so that you can see, I can visually show you some good spots to aim. So when you're hunting in game, you're going to see the deer just like this. And you're not going to be able to tell where the bones and the structures are. And so you got to know where to take the best shot. Now, we might look at the deer here, and this deer here, for example, is broadside. That means we can see the whole side of the animal. And you might look at it and say, well, I don't want to shoot it here because there's a bone here, because we think of our own shoulders. But that's not the case with animals. If we go to our X-ray view here, we can see that this animal's shoulder actually comes up, and then that's where its actual shoulder is, up here. And so we have this whole area in here into which we can aim and hit the lungs. Now the vital organs of the animals are all the same in game. The placement on some of them, maybe the lungs are a little bit further back than others, but for the most part, what we're going to show here today can be used pretty much on every single animal. And so the vital organs that we want to aim for are the lungs right here. We have the liver just slightly behind the lungs, or right behind the lungs. And if I can turn this here with some grace and ease, look at that. We have the heart is right there. But like I said, when we're looking at that deer, we don't see this image, do we? And so all we have to go by is this. So remembering that the shoulder on all of these animals, this bone comes up and over like a little V, means that we can hit directly here in this area, and we're always going to hit a lung. So you might see, say, somebody aim directly behind the shoulder. Well, that's that little crease right in here. And as you can see, if we go back, boom, we shoot there, we're going to hit the lungs every time. So that's good for that. So especially if they're broadside. Now, what if they're, you probably heard the expression quartering to. All that means is that the animal is turned a quarter turn. They're not facing you head on. They're quarter turn, but facing you. So where would you aim then? Well, if we aim here, it's not necessarily going to hit the lungs, if we can see. We might end up hitting the liver, or even worse, missing the liver and aiming a little bit further back. So what you want to do when an animal is quartering to, you want to aim a little closer. You want to aim up here. You want to aim a little bit further forward, and then that way that is going to catch your lungs. Now if your animal is head on, this gives you a good opportunity at a heart shot. And so the heart, it would be located right there. Let's go to our view. You see, we're right on the heart there. The best way to see that is just kind of where these legs meet the body here. That's pretty much where the heart is. So that's a good gauge when trying to make a heart shot at an animal that's facing directly towards you. Now, we might hear the terminology quartering away, and that means that the animal is turned away from us like this. And so where would we take the shot in that instance? Well, remember with the quartering to, we took it a little further. Well, now you would take that shot a little further back. So in this case here, we would maybe aim, hold on here, we're just going to move it. We would maybe aim right here. And now you see that even then, that's a little bit, we're going to catch one lung. That's just a little bit too far back, or too far forward even. We might want to aim like right around where this line for the hip is. We might want to aim right there, and you can see then we would catch maybe the liver and that lung in that shot. And so those are just a few little pointers as to how you can do that if the animal is stationary. But now what if the animal is moving? If it's walking or it's running? Well, what you want to do is you want to lead your shot. So what do I mean? Well, think about it this way. Maybe you've seen two cars coming up to an intersection. You know, it's that point, you know, if one's going faster than the other, it's going to, and if they were both going through, they would miss. You kind of want those two cars to collide. So carnage aside, when an animal is walking, you need to gauge how far it is away and when that bullet's going to reach the animal. So if the animal is walking, you might actually aim that in order to hit this spot here, you might aim over here closer to the neck. And that way, depending on your distance, when that animal is basically going to walk into that bullet. So you aim over here, and that split second later, that animal has moved, and now the bullet's going to hit here. If the animal is running, especially at a faster pace, you might want to lead it out to around here, and that's where you're actually aiming. You want to follow the animal as it's running with your crosshairs, and then you want to aim well out in front, especially if it's really hoofing it. And if you shoot here, that animal is gonna, by the time that animal comes over, it's gonna smack it right where you want to in the vital organs. So this is something that takes a lot of practice. I don't necessarily like shooting animals, even IRL on the run. I'd rather shoot a stationary animal. That way you can make sure that you're gonna get a good quick shot and it's gonna hit those vital organs. Now, just one more note, another thing that counts as a vital organ for your harvest are neck shots. So that's anything from the base of the skull up into where the shoulders are here. It's not a very viable option. Every now and then you might hit a neck shot, and I mean, good for you, but it's a very difficult target to make. You don't want to necessarily aim for the neck. They've taken spine shots out of the game as a viable option because in real life you wouldn't really want to aim for the spine. You're going to lose a lot of meat, and there's a lot of meat on the spinal cord. You don't want to lose that. So you still can get full score even if you hit the neck. But once again, I didn't really want to talk about that too much because neck shots are very difficult to make. Vital organ as well is the brain, but once again, because you want to keep your trophy organs intact, which is usually the skull, brain shots aren't the greatest to make. Now, there is an achievement for downing 10 animals with a brain shot. I suggest doing it on a doe. You're not getting any score for them, and so you might as well get that achievement by headshotting does if that's what you want to do. So anyways, I hope that helps you out with your shot placement. Once again, if there's anything that I missed or any comments that you want to make, leave them below. But from Call of the Wild Tutorials, happy hunting.